Yo, what is good, everybody? What is poppin', y'all? My name is James, aka your boy Jonesy, and welcome to Spurt, my video podcast series where I talk about different experiences I've gone through in my life in the hopes that you may learn or realize something about yourself that you can then take and apply into your everyday personal and professional life. As you can see down at the bottom hand corner of the screen, I got my friend Kael. Well, his name is Kael, but his screen name is Kael. Check him out on Twitch. He's a fantastic dude, man. He's a really great guy. I first met him, actually, if you may know, I am a photographer. That's kind of one of the things that I do outside of like Twitch and then my job at the Y, esports coaching, as it were. Met him doing photography shoot, dude. This was about maybe a year. This was actually like 2 years ago. Wow, it's 2023. That was in 2021, dude. That's crazy. Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I met him a couple years ago. It's kind of crazy how we reconnected, dude. It was actually via Twitch. I think Kayla popped in his stream, or how did I find? I don't even remember how. Maybe Mikael can remind me, because I actually don't remember how I found him. I think it was like Caleb who was like, "Yo, dude, Mikael he's streaming. He's just like you." And I was like, I don't know about that, dude. Like, I don't know about that. So I went and hopped in the stream, checked him out, dude. The energy this man has is absolutely contagious, like for real. If you never met him, if you never tuned into one of his streams before, please make sure you do Kael's over on Twitch. I'll make sure I link his stuff down in the description below, so please check him out. We got a great conversation for you guys today, man. We're going to be talking about game critics, the impact that they have on the gaming community. Are they entitled? Is what they're saying valid? These are all different things that we're going to be talking about. It's going to be a really fun conversation. So without further ado, I'm going to let Kael introduce himself. Yo, how's it going, man? How you feeling, bro? Thank you again for coming on the podcast, my guy.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I'm feeling good, you know? Hit a good workout, get the blood flowing. I'm ready for some good, exciting conversation.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've not been in the gym in like 2.5, 3 weeks, bro. I gotta get back into it. I gotta get back into it, man. I gotta get back into it. It's all good. Hey, yeah, but thank you again, Kael, for popping on the podcast, man. So first of all, man, game critics, dude. So what's your opinion, first of all? What do you think a game critic is? What kind of role should they serve in the gaming community? What do you think?
That's a great question. What do I think a game critic is? I think a game critic is someone who can, despite personal preference on video games, can objectively state out flaws or appraises for said video game unbiasedly.
Do you think, okay, I think I agree with that. Well, first of all, I think all critics should be objective. First of all, because with a game critic, their job is to deliver feedback on a game to the masses, right? I think what we've seen a lot with critics nowadays is that their opinions are very biased for various reasons. I think one of the biggest reasons for that is they're just looking for a free copy, right? A lot of them, they get the early copies for the games that they review. And the developers, they do that on purpose because they developed that relationship with the developers, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, they can't like go crazy on any of like the critiques that they're actually giving, because if it's too negative, that destroys the relationship between them and the developer. What do you think about that?
No, I think that's exactly what it is, to be honest. I think now, especially with the growth of the internet, people are scared to be honest.
Yeah.
To where they think it's going to affect future relationships, which I think is a valid fear. However, I think it comes at the price of authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a great point. I was actually looking at this article earlier today. It was called "Video Game Critics Need for Change" by, I think, by Keen Gamer, or at least that's the website it was on. Keen Gamer. I'll definitely link that in the bio as well. There was a lot of great points, and I think that was actually one of them. Oh, hold on. What the heck was that? I just got a notification from Twitch. I don't know who you are or what just happened, but whoever you were, thank you so much, man. I got to check up on that. I can't see it right now, but that was awesome. But yeah, I was just saying, and because of that, I think critics have a huge impact on the gaming community, or at least they used to. But because of how I know I've noticed that, or at least in my research, people are becoming less responsive to critics because of how unbiased they are, or how biased they are, because of how untransparent they are. So that being said, what do you think the future of game critics will look like? Oop, my bad. What do you think the future of criticism from critics will look like? Do you think it'll look the same as it does now? Do you think it'll take on a different form? Because like you mentioned, social media is a huge thing. It's dominating our current modern world, right? What do you think of that?
I think Honestly, I have no idea how it's going to form, mainly because before what critics are in an essence is a type of journalism, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So prior to the social media and internet age, you had to go to school to become a journalist, and based off of your work, you gain credibility.
Right.
But now, anyone, any YouTuber, Twitch streamer, anybody can be like, okay, well, here's my review of the game, and now views count, or is now your credits instead of the
Exactly.
university or your published work or anything like that. So pretty much anyone can become a critic these days without little to no
Actual
knowledge about
journalism
what they want to talk
experience,
about.
right?
So who knows how it's going to be? It might get worse and get more clout chasing.
I mean, but it's interesting that you say that though, because like that's kind of what we're doing here, right? Like, I mean, I'm an
Exactly
esports
what we're doing.
coach.
I
I've
love
been
it.
gaming, but I think I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, right? That anybody can
Yeah.
be a critic, because I don't think that it's fair to say that just because that person has experience in journalism and just because that person doesn't have, all that experience in the world, in that field, I don't know if that necessarily means that that makes them a bad critic, or that means that that discounts them from being able to give criticism on a game. I think the most important part of that is, like we were talking about, transparency, because that's kind of why people watch content creators in the first place, right? They
Yeah.
come to those people because it's a person that they feel like they connect with, and it's a person that they feel like they can relate with, and it's a person that they feel is a decent authority on whatever field that they're doing, right? I'm not an authority on anything. I don't know about you, but I don't think you're much of an authority on anything either. Not that that's a bad thing though, because I don't think that that discredits anything that we're saying or our opinion. But that being said, I think that the future of gaming, because of that, I don't know how responsive developers are going to continue being towards feedback, because there's plenty of developers out there who are really unresponsive totally to feedback from not just their fans but from critics. I think a great example of that is like Nintendo, right, with the Pokemon franchise. They are just copying and pasting essentially the same game over and over and over again, and they're just adding little gimmicks here and there. The same thing can be said about EA, FIFA, Madden, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
It's just a copy pasted product over and over again with minor updates. So as far as like the future of gaming, I don't know, man. I feel like developers are going to become less responsive. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think because you do see game developers like it's I don't know, it's a double-sided coin because you do see like those examples of Nintendo and EA where they kind of just they want to do their own thing.
Right.
And a part of me is like, it's their own creative medium
Hmm.
in a sense. So you can do
The
whatever you
formula
want.
works. It works.
Yeah, it works as well. And I think it's also what's the hard thing with it is again with the social media is like how much information you like. I don't know how much they get, but I'm assuming as a big company, you're getting tons of feedback.
Yeah.
And to be able to sift through that and stay objective through all the BS and all whatever people are saying,
Right.
and to pick out the nuggets of gold that are actually helpful, who knows how difficult that can be.
Right.
And then on the flip, you have like games like New World, which this is why I love New World, even though I haven't really been playing it as much. But how responsive they've been to
Yes.
player feedback,
Yeah.
I think should always be rewarded. So I
I
think even if you don't want to play the game, like I think supporting it just so the practice and philosophies move forward in the industry is a huge thing.
I'm so glad you brought up New World, dude. That's actually a game that I just started playing yesterday. Myself, Caleb, actually in the chat. Thank you, Caleb, for being here. Brandon, also in the chat. Brandon, thank you for being here. We actually all just got New World yesterday and started playing a little bit. But it's interesting because because it wasn't a game that I just started playing just willy nilly, right? I actually first saw it
Mhm.
on Shroud's stream. Don't ask me why I was watching Shroud, but I was. Um, and he was playing New World, and I was like, oh, okay, this looks like an interesting game. But I was doing a little bit of research on it, and apparently, when that game was first released, the feedback on it was
People are lighting it up.
horrible. It was like, I think from what I was seeing, people felt like it was a very glitchy game, that it didn't really offer much of an experience. The story was bad. There was very memorable, villains and stuff like that. But then they added the new DLC. I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head, but they added the new DLC, and slowly people have become way more responsive. People have been much more willing to give the game a second chance. And
Yeah.
even there was a video I was watching a couple of days ago about it. This dude was definitely way more. It was definitely a much more opinionated video, and I guess that's another thing where critics are they tend to be more opinionated now rather than
Hmm.
objective, and that's what we were just talking about. That's an important part of being a critic. But even then, he was saying that it's like it's the developers are still listening to feedback. There were some things that he felt that he didn't really like, such as like the battle pass that was introduced into New World somewhat recently. Battle passes, dude.
It's in
Actually,
every game.
speaking of battle passes, that actually kind of brings us to a great point because it seems I do think that battle passes have a significant impact on the future of gaming. People hate it, but I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I think that thing is staying. And a part of me, like, it depends on how. I don't know. Like, I'm not super upset about it, to be honest. But it is annoying that's like, because I, for one, I kind of like the idea of like being able to earn things that not everyone has.
Right?
That you
Yeah.
like, it shows your rank of in that game or your
Yeah.
your skill
Your
level.
level of dedication also.
Yeah, and now with Battle Pass, I feel like everyone's getting the same thing, and it's like it makes cosmetics feel less special to me. So I think it's annoying, and
Yeah.
to just try to milk me out of as much money as you can possibly get
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
really giving me any more content. You know what I mean? I
Right.
think it's a little cheesy, a little scummy.
I guess it's yeah, but I guess that just kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the developers and just doing what works for them, right? Because some games are not built to be
Yeah,
artful. They're built to be money grabbers. That's what those developers came for. So I think that in the future, as we see more battle passes being introduced to different games, I think that we're going to see games becoming a little less masterful, right? And especially recently, we've been spoiled rotten with all kinds of great games recently. Spider-Man is coming out, Elden Ring came out, Baldur's Gate, New World.
yeah,
There's so many games that have been coming out recently. We as gamers have been totally spoiled by all these different games. And I do think that that is actually having a very significant impact on our view of games because I think that as all these other really incredible games come out, what about them makes them great? Is it the story? Is it the gameplay? Is it the combat? Is it what is it about these games that make them unique? What does it make them special? I think we're gonna start seeing more of this gimmicky formula from games because it works, right? Because I think that in our
yeah,
world is becoming increasingly just money hungry. Really sad to say, but that's it. We see it everywhere, dude. We're not gonna get into like the politics or anything of it all, but we know that that's a real thing. And
yeah.
you would be silly to not think that that's a thing that people care about more than anything right now, right? Um, yeah, I just think that we're gonna see less of these super masterful games like we're seeing in our current gaming era.
Yeah, I feel like it started with Fortnite, and
Yeah, yep,
now
yep,
Fortnite set the new bar, which I never like in itself. I have no problem with money. You know, I like money. I want to get money. I
right.
think everyone you need money to survive in our world, so it's no
Yeah,
trip.
facts, facts.
But I think what's the misconception is what made Fortnite successful was they had a battle pass and they were free to play, which
Yeah,
is like no,
free
Fortnite's
play,
actually
yep.
a really good game, and it's like a pop culture game where you can express yourself in that game like no other.
Right.
I think that's what makes it successful.
Yeah. Ah,
And people are
that's a good
forgetting the
point.
good
Wow.
game aspect. They're looking at the money aspect. Where I'm like, if you make a great game,
Wow.
people will buy it. You know, Baldur's Gate's proof, Elden Ring, Spider-Man. You know, all these games are proof that like just make a good game and the money will handle itself. It's when you have money as a center is when you see these games flopping that could have been good because they weren't focusing on the right thing. I think.
I think that you brought up a really great point about the ability to tailor these free to play games towards yourself, right? Like you mentioned Fortnite. Rocket League is a great example. I'm a Rocket League
Yeah,
coach.
yeah,
You can, you're able to customize your car and make it look whatever type of way you want, right? You have your different types of goal explosions, boost trails, whatever, right? You have all these different things that make it great. So I think with all that being said, I feel like there needs to be some sort of balance in the way that we critique games. I think that people are so hung up on their own personal opinions, and this includes critics as well. They get
mm,
so hung up on their own personal opinions of the game, their own personal experiences with the game, that they're not really taking into consideration like, hey, the history of a game also matters, right? The developers themselves and their history with developing games, that matters.
Yeah.
Because it's not every game is made for everybody, right? I personally am a very type of I just like to get in and play the game. I don't like to worry about the I really don't pay attention to the stories too much in games because
But
that's
every
just
quest,
this
every dialogue option in New World, huh?
bro, no. I'm literally in New World, dude. I'm literally spamming the click button through every dialogue option because I'm just like,
Give me the quest.
I give me the quest, let me go out and kill some bad guys, right? I want to take my giant battle hammer crashing through skulls in. Like that's what I care about. But I know that about myself. I am mindful of that. So I don't allow the type of game like Inscription. I've been playing Inscription on my stream recently. It's a fun game, right? It's a good game. If for those who don't know what Inscription is, it's basically like this spooky card game where you're playing against like some shadow figure, and it's telling the story of these. It's kind of like an escape room game. Caleb is in the chat; he's played it before. It's a
Yeah.
really interesting game, but it's a card based game. It's just not meant for me. My specific play style does not really suit those types of games. But again, I am mindful of it. So what do you think what role does being mindful of your specific type of play style and the critics' different types of play style, what kind of role do you think that plays when it comes to developing our specific criticisms of a specific game?
Honestly, I think it's everything because, and I think it's more on. I think we think about. I think the gamer, the player, also has a certain amount of responsibility.
Right.
I was thinking the other day with one of my friends, and it's like some games, like I was talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't know if you play that
Yeah.
game.
Oh man,
Phenomenal
great
game.
game. Phenomenal.
I've seen negative comments like, "Oh, this game's boring. It's too slow." But like, if you go into that game from like, let's say, playing uh, God of War 2018 that came out in that year as well, coming from that game, they're not comparable. Red Dead will
Mm,
be boring compared to that. So you almost have to manage your own temperament on the type of game you're playing,
right.
so that you can get the most out of that game. You know what I mean? Because that game was very much a slow pace. Enjoy the scenery, enjoy the world. You know what I mean? Very
Right.
immersive. Immerse yourself
Right.
versus God of War, which is, hell of a game as well. Good story. Beat 'em up. You're a goddamn god. You know what I mean? Which is, it's a very different temperament that you're going into those games with. And I think players and even critics, they don't think about that. They'll be like, oh, this game sucks because it was boring, too many parts. And I was like, well, are you missing what the developers are trying to have you
Do.
feel or do or
Yeah.
something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of what I'm feeling on that end is like we as gamers have to, if you're going to play a game, sit down, get in the right mindset to play that game to really get the maximum enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think also people who some of like Caleb just said that he doesn't really pay attention to critics' reviews, but a
Mhm.
lot of people do. I actually, whenever I bought New World, like I said, I was doing research on the game before I bought it because that's freaking 45 forty
Yeah, it's
dollars
money.
plus 30 for the DLC.
The
So that's
DLC.
$70 total that I spent on that game, right? I
Yeah.
want to know what I'm freaking getting before I buy it, before I spend that type of money on it. So I was looking at reviews, but it was interesting. Like some critics were like, "Oh yeah, this game is a 1 or a like a 7 out of 10." Some people were like, "This is a 80 out of 100," right? Or
Yeah.
so in that sense, like it's hard because let's say you have a one critic, right? Critic A, they rate the game 2.5 out of 5, right? And another critic, they rate that game 50 out of 100. Does that 2.5 out of 5 equate to that 50 out of 100? I don't really think so because
Yeah.
of
What's the scale?
there is no
It's like you
scale,
don't
I
know that
think.
the extremes of the spectrum either, which is very hard.
Right, exactly. It's hard to, and, and that goes because there's so many different opinions, like we said. So I think that that's really the biggest thing that we need to think about whenever we are rating these games is honestly, I think that the critics' opinions really don't matter because of how personalized of an experience that video gaming is. It's a very personal
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, it's meant to be enjoyed with friends, but at the end of the day, it's you playing the game. It's you, like your friends aren't here in your room playing this game with you, or maybe they are, I don't know. But more than likely, your friends are not in the same room as you playing games. That's just kind of like how games are nowadays. They're
Yeah.
multiplayer, but they're not like split screen games like they used to be back in the day with like Halo 2 and like Call of Duty Black Ops and stuff like that, right? They're not the same way as like that. So I think looking into the future, what kind of trends do you think you'll start to see as far as innovations in the gaming industry?
Innovations. I think video games are going to become easier to make with AI.
Hmm.
Soon. I think
Wow.
that might be one. I think with that, it's going to make it's almost gonna be like, you remember when mobile games weren't that big, and like every couple months a good mobile game comes out, you're like, oh nice,
Right.
because all the smartphones, everything was very new.
Right. Temple Run.
Yeah, exactly. Temple Run Day, Subway Surfer, Flappy
Subway
Bird, all that
Surfer,
stuff. You're like,
yeah.
oh awesome.
Flappy Bird. Wow, that's a name I
Yeah,
haven't heard in a while. Flappy
goat of
Bird.
a game.
I was in my
And,
sophomore year class playing the out of that game, dude. Wow.
and now you see there's a mobile game every ad, you know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
just becomes so much, I think, because they get so easy to create now and people understand that. I feel like that's what's gonna happen with
Wow. I didn't think
video
about that.
games.
I didn't think about that.
Also,
Yeah.
I'm hoping the free to play games, like, to be honest, I like free to play, but I'd rather just pay my money and know
Yeah.
I'll have a good
I
experience, to be
agree.
honest.
I
I feel like
agree.
free to play games are, because almost I feel like it's kind of a broken system, because if you invest the money to get a game that costs nothing, now you are counting on people to buy. So you give them problems, you give them the problems, and you sell them the solutions so that you can make your money back. And
Right.
I think if that doesn't happen, a lot of companies are just losing money because they're thinking this free to play method is going to incline people to buy more. But I don't feel like that's always true if you're going in it with a money focused energy. You know what
No,
I mean?
definitely
People
not.
aren't dumb anymore. People have information, they see things.
Facts. That's a
And I
great
think
point. What
it's
do
a
you
hard
hold
thing.
on, but I want to go back to what you said about the AI thing because that's very interesting. I just recently started using Chat GPT. If you're not using Chat GPT, dude, you're missing out on something phenomenal.
Bro, it is nut. I was just messing around with it when I first started. And I was like asking it to help me do like animations on a video game. I'm not making a video game with it. I just wanted to see what it was capable of. And it will write you some code for the video games.
That's freaking wild, dude. What?
So yeah, it'll write you anything you need if you know the questions to ask it, pretty much. So I think with that, if anyone needs to use Unreal, everyone has access to Unreal. You can just get Unreal, ask for codes, and people, once ChatGPT knows the type of game you want to make, it'll be able to write that code within minutes. You know what I
That
mean?
that's
Versus
just
you taking hours or whatever it is. So I think that might be an interesting,
wow. I didn't even think
very
about that.
interesting
You know
thing.
what's also interesting is how, because people started using like the AI, like as soon as AI started really popping off, right, on TikTok, I was seeing fake artwork and crap like that all the time. I think that's probably something you're going to start seeing more in the. If we're honestly, we're probably already seeing that in games. We just don't know it yet, where they've used AI to create some of those, some of those cutscenes or whatever. Like, I don't know how powerful AI is right now. I'm not a freaking coder. I don't know anything about this stuff, right? But I really would not be surprised. Like the new Spider-Man game that's going to be coming out, or if it's not already out, I think it's coming out soon. Uh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some of the animations in there that were made by an AI. Like probably not, honestly. I feel like those are very handcrafted animations. But in the future, dude, like you said, that's very interesting. Wow, I think that's something that we're all gonna have to be keeping a very close eye on for
Yeah. It's
sure.
gonna be crazy. Cause even I saw what they have. They had, it's kind of in the rough stages, but they had AI generated dialogue. So what the AI would say was not scripted. It was whatever that AI wanted to say based off of the inputs that you give it. And that's kind of what procedural
That's
generation is too, as well. It's, in a sense, it's kind of an AI to make maps and stuff. That's kind of what's used for now. But who knows what that'll look like later on? You
oh,
know what I mean?
dude. All I know is that it's gonna look absolutely insane. Also, Brandon, dude, I saw your comment a while ago, dude, with the gunshots and stuff. I'm so sorry, man. Are you okay? Hopefully, everything over there in Canada is going okay, man. I'm sorry about that, but anyways, as I was saying, um, yeah, dude, I think AI is a great point. I think free to play games are going to continue kind of dominating the space, honestly, because I don't think there's any way that you can convince me that Elden Ring is more popular than Fortnite.
It's
It's
definitely
it's
not.
it's
There's
not
no way.
happening, right? Same thing with Rocket League. I don't think there's any way that you can convince me that Spider-Man is going to be more popular than Rocket League. It's just not going to happen, dude. I'm sorry. Even with some of the crap, and this is another thing that brings me to a great point. Going back to the developers not listening to feedback. Rocket League just recently announced that they're going to be taking away trading, right? And the
Terrible
whole
move.
community is horrible, dude. I
Terrible.
don't think it's, but I think the biggest thing that frustrates me about it is how there are still so many problems that are wrong with the game that they're just refusing to fix, and yet they're taking
Yeah.
trading out for seemingly no reason, right? Like the servers are absolutely putrid garbage. I can't tell you how many games, and I have great internet, and I have a brand new PC, right? I can't tell you how many times I have hopped onto Rocket League, gone to a server, and it just crashes for some reason. It's happened at least once every gaming session, and
Yeah.
it's honestly a little ridiculous at this point because it's like we've been asking you guys to fix your servers for how long now? And you're taking away trading for what? And I think that's
Yeah,
just the trend you're going to continue to
it's
see.
crazy. Like they're taking away trade. It's like they give you the problem. The problem now you want the decal that your friend could have gave you, and
Right.
now the solution is to buy it yourself.
No. It's no.
It's like it's man.
But
I'm like,
that's
you guys are
why
gonna
like it
kill the
makes it
game.
but it that's why it's hard for people to believe that like they're not doing it for anything other than the money, right? It's
Yeah,
just, it just makes it hard for us to believe, dude. Um but yeah, no, dude, this is I think I'm hopeful for where games are going, and I'm only hopeful because of the great products that we have seen recently.
yeah. This
In
is gonna be a
that
great year for games.
it's oh dude, it's already been fantastic, dude. Like Legend of Zelda came out, or Tears of the Kingdom came out earlier this year. Elden Ring came out last year. Baldur's Gate came out earlier this year. We've got plenty of other games that are gonna be coming out.
Yeah,
Check it's gonna be a lot of fun, but it's just I just hope that people understand that when it comes to the feedback that critics give, and when it comes to the feedback that the fans give on the games that they're playing, people are going to have different opinions because that's just the world we live in a world dominated by social media. And that's the other thing. People take social media too literally.
yeah, they
It's
really do.
not real life. The opinions that you see on social media do not reflect real world opinions because you can go on Twitter and you can see somebody post something like, oh yeah, I just gained 200 pounds and whatever. And you'll see everybody like completely flaming and just trashing on that person. But I promise you, if you go and meet that person in person and they tell you, hey, I just gained 200 pounds, you're probably not going to absolutely trash that person to their face like that, right? That's just
Yeah,
one example. And there's like fake news as that's been coined recently, in recent years. It's a real thing, though. There is a lot of
yeah,
misinformation out there. So it's not social media is not real life, and that's why I think it's so important that people learn how to develop their own opinions, doing your own research, man. Learn your history. These are all things that I think are important for us to do because if we don't do that, then we just become subjects of the opinions that aren't ours, right? And that's never a good place to be because how can you truly enjoy a game if you're basing it purely on the experience of somebody else, right?
yeah. For real, I think it's a very hard time for because social media is still pretty new to this degree. And I think it's hard because like growing up, like us for middle school, like elementary, middle school, high school's when it start coming out. Every time we needed to find information, we went online, and the only thing that was online is really the truth, right?
Yeah,
But now with social media, it's kind of warped that, like, oh, if you see it on the internet, that's a good reference point, or it was. And now it's like
was.
completely the opposite. It's like you
Yeah,
don't know where they got that from.
yeah.
Anyone can say anything and make it look like it's professional or
Oh
it's
yeah.
well researched or anything like that. And I think it throws a lot of people for the loop. And now the check marks was a thing, and now anybody
Oh
can have
my
a check
God,
mark.
the check marks.
So now you're
Anybody
like,
can
I
have
don't
a
know
check
who to
mark.
believe, man.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, that's a great point. But I think, yeah, again, that's why it's like that it's just important to be educated. Like whatever educated means for you, I think that it means just doing your research, develop your own opinion. I'm not saying that it's not okay to go and seek the advice and seek the opinion of somebody else because that's how we learn. We're people. We're very social. If we don't do that, we're not growing. In that same breath, form your own opinions because that's the only way you're going to truly know if a game is for you or if it isn't for you. So
Yeah,
that's just my opinions. But anyways, though, man, Kael, I appreciate you coming to today's podcast, man. Thank you so much for joining me, bro.
bro, anytime. It's
Yeah,
been
it was a
glad.
lot of fun, dude. I mean, if you want, we're gonna hop on Rocket League here in just a second. That being said, hold on, let me switch the screen back to my face. Y'all, oh my bad, that's not my face. Hey guys, but I appreciate y'all being here, man. We are gonna hop into a little bit of Rocket League, but before we do that, thank y'all again so much for being here. Make sure you please give Yo Kael a shout out or follow over on Twitch, Yo Kaels. leave it in the description below. Please like, subscribe, all that great stuff. I do stream these Growth Spurt streams every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Lots of fun, man. Next week I'm going to be having actually my supervisor from work. He's a he's a semi-professional esports player. Specifically, he does Halo. He's a really cool guy. His name is Sean. Really excited for the conversation we're going to have with him next week. But that being said, y'all, we're going to get into some Rocket League. Thank y'all for being here. Y'all be easy, stay positive, and of course, I will catch you guys on the flip. Until next time, fam, y'all peace out. And that's scene. Let's freaking go, dude.
Very nice.
Let's go.
That was
Hey,
cool.
that was smooth, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That was smooth.
That was
man.
really smooth. I'm not